Seismic 7, Chapter 6, Part 2. I feel like scampering too. Instead, I adjust the headlamp I'm wearing so the strap is tight enough. Then I put on my seriously sci-fi looking dust mask with 2 filters on each side and a pair of goggles. And then, like a grumpy Santa Claus, Mr. Fee shows up and hands me my camera. Ha! Yes! I take it from him, my cheeks pinching against my face mask as I smile extra wide. Aw, what? No fair, Kinsey pouts. Where's my phone? No tech with internet, Mr. Fee says. Dr. Greer has given Brianna here special permission to record the drilling process with her camera because it can't get online. Immediately, I turn my camera on, a rush flooding me as the screen powers up. My courage boosts and my nerves disappear in an instant. It's like magic having my camera back in my hands. Hello, world! And by world, I mean Dr. Greer, I say quickly. I can see my face on the flipped selfie screen and have to laugh at my goggles and mask. I am suited up, about to descend into the depths of the earth to put a stop to a supervolcano. Yes, you heard that right, a supervolcano. Meet our team. I flip the screen back and pan around. Kinsey lets out a whoop, making muscle arms at the camera. Todd nods seriously, doing his best to ignore Kinsey. Wyatt waves. Okay, enough, Mr. Stiles pushes my camera down. You're no fun, Kinsey says. I turn the camera off, my courage still flying high. This has all been so weird and unfamiliar. It's beyond comforting to have something from my normal life back. For the next few hours, Mr. Stiles and Mr. Fee run us through several practice sessions with our sensors, our hand drills, and the controls for the big drills. After we start to consistently pass their tests, they march us over to the worksite, down several flights of stairs in the cave, and across a few narrow patches of cleared ground. Ahead of me, Kinsey keeps punching one hand into her other, clearly psyching herself up. She bobs from toe to toe, her headlamp dancing along the ground as she does so, and I smile. Next to her, I notice that Wyatt has no problem moving in the boots he was given and want to rub that in the adults' faces. Now that I have the ability to record stuff again, I feel like I could take on the world. Let's do this! But then we reach our actual starting point and everything inside me turns back to pitifully trembling goo. This new cavern is even bigger than the main camping area. Giant lights illuminate massive pieces of equipment. Huge pipes stick straight into the walls as if they lead directly out of the hill we're under. A big yellow cube-shaped machine is hooked up to some smaller pipes and hoses. Beyond that, there's a massive orange contraption with chains and a crank that latches to cabling running across the floor. The cabling itself is hooked through 2 of the pod things that Dr. Greer told us about. To the left of all that is a vat that's too big to see into, so I have no idea what's in it. And next to the vat is a giant cement mixer. Past all the equipment, there are piles and piles of rock and debris. But my eyes don't linger on any of that stuff, as impressive as it all is. Because directly in front of us, where the cables and smaller pipes run, there is a pitch black hole in the ground, not more than 1.5 feet in diameter. That's what we have to go into? I ask meekly. Yeah, that's gonna be a tight fit, Todd says. We sidestep next to each other as our headlamps wash beams of light over the opening. I have no idea how they expect us to manipulate tools and drill in such tight quarters. Holy mackerel. I don't have claustrophobia, but I might in about, 2 minutes. I can feel my legs wobbling beneath me, and it takes all my willpower to stay steady. Okay, it's going to be one after the other, as soon as the alpha tunnel is clear, Mr. Stiles says. I don't care who goes in first, but whoever does has to go to the furthest location to work. So we're going to need a brave volunteer. Just as he's explaining, and just as I'm about to raise a weak arm to ask if I could be one of the ones who doesn't go in as far, a buzzer sounds, and a couple of other pods get raised up and out of the tunnel. 2 people shimmy out of them. We all gawk. They're kids like us. Maybe they're the ones Wyatt saw yesterday. I can't make out facial features because they're wearing dust masks and tight goggles, but their hair is filled with gray stuff and their jumpsuits are trashed. They smell like fireworks, the stench reaching my nose even through my face mask. One of them looks at us and pauses for a moment. Hi, Kinsey says, waving. The taller one pulls the shorter one away, and some of the men with Mr. Styles immediately flock to the kids, blocking them from our view and whisking them off to the cavern. Friendly, Todd notes. They're probably just tired, I say, imagining how I'm going to feel in a couple of hours. Yeah, and obviously need a shower, Kinsey adds. She looks thoughtful through her goggles. Hey, we do get to shower after this, right? Because I'm not sharing a cabin with gross, sweaty people. That's enough time wasting, Mr. Styles says, nodding toward the tunnel. It's your turn to head in. I swallow behind my dust mask. The narrow darkness seems to grow in front of me, taking over my vision. Wyatt takes the first step forward, and mentally I thank him. Todd moves away from me to follow him. I punch my hand with my fist the way Kinsey did earlier. Okay. I force one foot in front of the other. I guess we're really doing this. I end up right behind Kinsey. Mr. Styles directs each of us to step into a pod. Wyatt and Todd take the pods just used by the other two kids, while Kinsey and I end up with the ones further back down the cable. A man I don't know holds a pod upright for me. I step into it, hugging the cable in the center and standing on top of the giant fracking drill as instructed. Other than the main central line, all other pipes and wires are against one edge of the cylinder, which leaves me with only one side to stand on, the side with the attachments for the tracks. It feels like I'm in some weird ride at a theme park. When the man shuts the door, I half expect him to say, "Keep your hands inside and have fun." Instead, he grunts and lowers the pod to a horizontal position. The curving walls and cables of the pod are covered in some sort of protective coating and have enough give to them that they bend slightly as I'm set down on the ground. I try to keep my body calm now that I'm lying down. Another man feeds each of us a pack of narrow metal tracks that were meant to install along the tunnels. I tuck the pack between the central cable and the opposite wall of pipes and wires, which is currently directly above me. I can see why Dr. Greer needed kids for this. As men drag us toward the tunnel, I can't imagine how any of them would fit in the pods with all this equipment. The cables, the piping, the tracks, the tools. I'm going to hit my head on something if I so much as sneeze. We're all in a curved line, and I can just see the others ahead of me. Wyatt, being the closest to the hole, has Mr. Styles heave his pod upright to sink down into the ground first. In a matter of seconds, he goes from horizontal to vertical, and then he's gone. It happened so fast, I squeeze my hands in their gloves, forcing myself to keep still. Todd goes after him, and Kinsey, trembling, disappears next. Trying to ride the coattails of my new crewmate's courage, I stay quiet as I reach Mr. Styles. My motor starts up, and boy is it obnoxious. Loud, repetitive, and churning. Like a car that's trying to start. I'm grateful for the ear protection headphones Mr. Fee gave me earlier. Like the others ahead of me, I'm pulled upright by Mr. Styles so that I can descend vertically into the Alpha tunnel. The pod wobbles in its grip, and it takes all of my self-control not to yell as I'm tipped into a standing position. My feet rest on top of the big fracking drill once again. The drill isn't on, but if I press the wrong button on my control panel, it will be. Then a cable starts chugging, and I get pulled into the hole below. The bright floodlights from the cavern cast shadows along the ground, which I watch for as long as I can. Lowering farther and farther, the rocky ground eventually becomes eye level. I can see Mr. Styles' boots now. They knock bits of rubble loose as he walks around my pod. My breath quickens, hot against my face and its mask. Just as I'm about to shout that I don't want to do this anymore, the cave disappears from view.